Weeks ago, and I'm having way too much fun playing it right now, and that is Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I'm a huge...
Is that the one that's being advertised on TV?
Yes, I'm a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed series. The basic idea of it is it's kind of a sci-fi game where you have people being, sitting in a machine, and the machine lets them relive the memories of their ancestors.
Oh, wow.
So in the first three, so every game takes place in a different time period. The first game was set in Israel during the Crusades. The second game was in Italy during the Renaissance. The third game was in America during the American Revolution. This fourth game, it is in the early 1700s in the Caribbean. And the West Indies, and you play as a character named Edward Kenway, and you are a pirate in the Caribbean.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And the reason it's so much fun is really early on in the game you get you're a pirate, so you get your ship, and you sail around the ocean in real time, so you're actually controlling everything that happens. And say you're sailing through the ocean, you look to your right, and there's a little island off to the right. You can sail to the island, drop the anchor, jump off the boat, go explore the island, swim back, jump back on the boat, and take off again with no load screens.
Now,
it all just happens.
All of these, the names would suggest that it is for children 18 and over.
Yeah, this is like an R-rated movie, because at the end of the day, you are technically playing as an assassin and a pirate.
Oh, okay.
So this is an M-rated game. It is 18 and up.
Okay.
But that being said, for people like me, it's awesome. It's a great addition to the series.
Now, you and I have discussed this before off camera. We both are in the belief that these video games do not make kids want to go out and kill people.
No, my argument, the way I see it, is it goes both ways. So if video games like that made people want to go out and murder somebody, then how come there are billions of people who play Farmville every day that don't want to go out and become a farmer?
Yeah. Yeah, and when I grew up, it was with the Stooges, and I didn't want to poke people's eyes out.
Well, you also have to remember, as far back as the 1940s, 1950s, there were congressional hearings trying to ban Superman because Superman was considered a communist.
Yeah,
that's why if you look at every comic book that's published, they have to have a little Comics Association sticker on it saying it has been reviewed and its content is appropriate for release. That started in the 1950s, and that's still carried over today. So it goes through a cycle. Every generation has topic, and this generation it's video games.
Right. Okay, I want to know about this
away from video game onto movies. Yes, I am going to see this one tomorrow. I have been looking forward to it for months, and it's Thor 2: Dark World. I am a huge fan of the first Thor movie. I thought they did a great job with it. The casting is dead on perfect, especially when it comes to the way that Thor and Loki play off of each other, and you get to see a lot of that in this movie. But what I'm looking forward to in this one is they're building on an idea that was set up in the first Thor movie and in the comics. And that is the idea that all the Norse gods, Thor, Loki, Odin, all of them, they're not gods per se, they're alien astronauts who came to Earth hundreds of years ago, and we weren't very advanced, and they had all this technology we had never seen, so they were worshipped as gods.
I see.
This is going to build on the idea of if you're dealing with something where their technology is this advanced, where did they get the technology from?
Right.
So it's, as they kind of explain in the first trailer, it's great because it's Anthony Hopkins as Odin, and he's the one narrating it. The idea of, in the beginning there was light, but before light there was darkness, and there were things that dwelled in the darkness. So it's this old threat from long before Odin never came around that has now come back, and that's what they have to fight against, and that's what Thor's going up against.
Okay.
So it looks like it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
I think the animation of today, and I should say the special effects of today, is absolutely magnificent.
Oh, yes.
I mean, the technology that we have out there, unbelievable.
But more importantly with this one, what I'm really looking forward to and what I'm loving with Marvel right now is their storytelling, because this is the second movie in what they're calling Phase 2. And Phase 1 started with the very first Iron Man movie, and it ended with the first Avengers movie, and all those films were interconnected. This is the second movie. The first phase, they did Iron Man 3, and that started the story that's going to continue into Avengers 2. So this is the second film film in this story that they're going to keep continuing. And I'm really curious to see how it's going to play
And
into
it's
what
such
we've
a big
already
hit
seen.
with the kids.
Yes.
It'll probably be
Oh,
continued.
it's definitely going to be.
Now,
I'm just looking
did I
forward to
hear
this.
right this morning, Ellen, that a new Star Wars has been put on the back burner?
No, it's coming out in 2015.
Yeah.
But now that Disney has purchased the rights to it, in addition to an actual Star Wars film, they want to do spin-off movies of all the characters. So a standalone Han Solo, Boba Fett, Chewbacca, Luke, Leia, all the characters they want to give standalone movies to.
Okay, because I thought I heard this morning that when it comes out in 2015, it may be bumped back a little bit.
It very well may be, but last I heard they announced a release date that's going to be in December of 2015.
Okay.
Because they want to release it for Christmas.
Okay, all right. Well,
yeah.
check into that, because I think it might be a little bit
going
later.
away from movies to TV shows, and
Yes.
since you brought up the animation subject, one of my favorite shows of the early 2000s was a Nickelodeon show called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is now in a second season called Avatar: The Legend of Korra, and it's getting really good right now. It's getting very, very good right now. And the basic premise of it is it's based mostly in Eastern mythology. So there's a lot of Japanese, Chinese, and other Asian influences in this. But the basic idea is you've got this world map, and there are 4 different countries in it based around 4 different elements. So you've got earth, water, fire, and air.
Sure.
And in every country, it's broken down between people who, in the army, will use weapons to fight, and people who can actually manipulate that nation's elements. So you have people throwing fire and water and chunks of earth at each other. But in every generation, one person is born who can use all 4 of them, regardless of what country they come from. And that person is called the Avatar, and it's their job to make sure that all these different countries stay at some degree of balance. To keep everything balanced out. And what they did that was very interesting with the first season was the Avatar in that one was the sole survivor of a genocide. He was the only one that came out of it alive, and when he showed up, he was 12 years old. So you're dealing with this story that started out like a goofy kid show, but took a hard right turn halfway through the first season, and it got really good and went to some dark places.
Oh, I know kids are really into Avatar.
But it had a very cool story. This one's a little more kid-friendly right now because it doesn't have those kinds of deep thoughts. But they're dealing with something that hadn't been addressed in the show before, and that's the idea of spirituality itself. That you're dealing with someone who is kind of a de facto spiritual leader for the world, and if that person runs into a situation where their own home and their own family is threatened, and they have to remain neutral in every conflict, what do you do in that kind of a situation?
Right.
In this case, you have the lead character, Korra. There's a civil war brewing between 2 different sides of her own country, but because she's the Avatar, she has to remain neutral, even though she's from that country, and she's
So
from
it teaches
one of them.
you, there's a lot of discipline.
There's a huge amount of discipline that is discussed in this show, and it's from a whole bunch of different angles.
Great.
But it's just a really, really cool show with great
Let
stories.
me ask you this question. If you could revive a movie or a television show or anything of that nature, if you can revive one that's kind of been put on the back burner or we forgot about, which one would you choose?
I don't know off the top of my head. There are too many good ones.
Think of one, Ellen.
Well, yeah.
Superman?
A lot of them have already been done so well. I mean, we got the Batman the Animated Series I grew up with, and I would never change that. Same thing goes with the Superman
Do you feel
series.
that, isn't it Ben Affleck that's going to play the new Superman?
No, Ben Affleck is going to be Batman.
Now, why is there a big kerfuffle about that when I think he's a great actor?
Well, the thing is, everyone has the same reaction because everyone flipped out when they found out Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker. Exactly.
A part he played.
When I think Ben Affleck, my first impression, I think he would make a very good Bruce Wayne.
I do too.
Whether or not he will make a good Batman, that's a different question, because you have to remember when you take on the role of Batman, you're taking on 2 entirely different characters.
Yeah, you're a different person.
I mean, I'm someone, in the fandom who is of the belief that because everyone knows the Batman story. His parents are robbed, they're killed or mugged, they're killed in the attack. He becomes Batman. I think that any time where you're playing in a Batman movie, you have to operate on the mentality that Bruce Wayne himself also died with his parents that night, and that
he carries a lot of sorrow.
Oh no,
in
it's
him.
not. It's not even carrying sorrow. It's the idea that the real Batman, the Batman persona,
was born.
is the real Bruce Wayne,
Right?
And that the billionaire who goes out and runs a company, that's him putting on a costume,
Right.
and that when he's going out as Batman, that's when his real
But
self
see, I always
comes
saw him
forward.
like because he was so full of sorrow and he wanted to do so much good, that this persona, this Batman, came out and he was reborn. That
Exactly,
time.
but it also brings up an interesting question, which was an episode from the TV show I loved, or the animated TV show called The Trial. If that hadn't happened and he hadn't done that, would the villains have come around?
Yeah.
Because the villains feed off of Batman just like he
Well,
feeds off the
I
villains.
was lucky enough to get into
But-
the original
Yeah,
TV
well,
Batman.
we also get, I was just going to say, get
Right.
Adam West, where he's got the bat shark repellent and the bat copter.
You talk about being
the
funny.
bat zip lines. I mean,
It
that was,
was
so great.
And then you
so
had great
cheesy.
people on there, like Burgess Meredith.
Oh no!
and-
Well, the Penguin in that series is the definitive Penguin.
Yeah.
You know, just with the long cigar. You know, excellent.
I think we better go to a break.
Yeah. yeah. We'll go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to be cooking up some appetizers with Monique. So stay tuned.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.